I just need to call out the rawest line I've ever read in a D&D book.
Call it out.
The stronger the death dragon, the more it fights the hate consuming it, holding on to the vestiges of its memories.
Hello, everyone. Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen is coming real soon. If you like your adventures in the vibe of we're scrappy heroes that are going to do our best, but we're probably doomed, a la Rogue One, Seventh Samurai, Young Guns 2. I think you're going to enjoy it. And I am here with a very good friend of mine to talk about one of the menaces that's going to be in the book. Obviously, it's Dragonlance, it's Kryn, it's the dragon armies of Takesis. There are a lot of dragons, but we took it up to 11 a little bit, and today, with my friend Aabria Iyengar, we're going to be talking death dragons.
Hi, hey, Joe, look at me. These are my favorite things. And it's not just because they're purple and black. They're very cool. And
Yes.
oh God, I want to eat them in my body and put them on everything. I feel like that Portlandia sketch where it's just like, put a dragon on it. Put a dragon on it.
And sometimes make sure that dragon's skeletal remains are infused with cataclysmic fires and arise consumed with a need for vengeance. Death dragons. Dude, I'm stoked about this. I'm stoked that you are here with me to preview them a little bit and also give some of that sweet Iyengar advice on how DMs can take these absolute just monsters and just wreck a table. Because to me, that's what this Dragonlance adventure is going to be about. It's just taking some level 1 to 10 bright-eye adventurers and snuffing all of the hope out of their eyes with the death dragon.
Truly. Can we just start by, I just need to call out the rawest line I've ever read in a D&D book.
Call it out.
The stronger the death dragon, the more it fights the hate consuming it, holding on to the vestiges of its memories.
First glance, is there anything on this stat block that just like spoke to you upon first perusal?
Oh, I think for me, it's that mixture of the unusual nature, which is that the dragon doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. And then those the stacked condition immunities of it's immune to the exhausted condition or poisoned. This is just a hit that keeps coming. Like, this isn't rise and grind, it's just grind. There's no rise. It's risen and it will not stop. There's just something so fun about like, you've made the worst possible enemy because now that you're dealing with like something that's like lich adjacent, that still like has all of the like dragon flaws around like wanting to protect its horde, but like if you really bother it, it will come for you and never stop coming for you. Feels so fun for those parties that have that sense of like, well, I'm gonna go kick the hornet's nest, and worst case scenario, we flee the lair and we're done and it's fine.
Yes. Well, on that unusual nature, the dragon doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. One thing, without getting into spoilers about this adventure, you're not level 20 gods in this adventure, but you are fighting the dragon armies of Takesis. So there's going to be a lot of problem solving. There's going to be a lot of how do we get from point A to point B without being eviscerated by a dragon army. And I feel like death dragons, that unusual nature feature, takes a lot of tactics away from a party. Like, you can't wait till they're sleeping. You can't sneak around them. So yeah, I'm super excited about that.
100%.
You said something really interesting. I want to zero in on it. You said lich adjacent. And I thought it might be fun to kind of, even before we dig in a little deeper, do you have any general advice for people, for lack of a better term, running something lich adjacent? Undead that's not quite like just like a mindless shambling zombie.
Yeah, I really like this, and I love the way it's built because of that like undead adjacency and the idea Okay, sorry, I'm gonna go a little philosophical and then maybe hopefully come back and answer the question.
Okay.
Again, back to that raw line of this thing is like fighting to preserve itself and its memory. You're now dealing with an undead entity that will always be more consumed by its own existential fight in real time all the time than it's going to care about you as a party, especially as a like fundamentally lower level party. I think there's something so terrifying about like encountering a huge imposing enemy that's blackened bone and flesh, consumed and run through with like burning purple flame, and you're not the worst thing that's happened to it right now. Like, it is fighting this fire. It's fighting this fire to preserve its own identity. Like, in my brain, I've definitely like built this as like, I don't know, for beach people out there, driftwood that's been sort of like ossified by salt. So when you throw it into like a bonfire, it explodes and shatters and pops, and it's very loud. So that's the way I think of describing the like entrance and physicality of the Death Dragons, is very much like driftwood being like explosively consumed by this like cataclysm fire, and it's the will of the dragon alone that's sort of pulling pieces of it back to itself in real time as it struggles to remember the shape of the thing it used to be. So it's like stuck in this really interesting cycle of like destruction and regeneration and holding itself together, and then you all walk in. God,
taking that just character vibe, that monster motivation, and bringing it back into the stat block for a death dragon, specifically a greater death dragon, because there are greater death dragons, there are lesser death dragons. The Kentucky just came out on my undead. Lesser death here, Bubba. Lesser death dragons. Here's the thing: a lesser death dragon is slightly less in control of its facilities and a little closer to Shamby Skeleton, while a greater death dragon is very much aware of the things that it has lost. You understand? It came out. Legendary action on this stat block for a greater death dragon: a cataclysmic rush. Which I loved. So dragon moves up to half its flying speed without provoking opportunity attacks, carrying with it any creature it is currently grappling. During this move, if it enters the space of a medium or smaller creature, that creature takes necrotic damage. A creature can only take this damage once per turn. I love this one as just like a tactical, just like moving about the grid, right? And so I wanted to take this legendary action and ask you, Superstar Dungeon Master Aabria Iyengar, what kind of environment do you put this fight in? And how do you take an action like Cataclysmic Rush and really get the most out of your environment?
So first thing I'm going to say is I love Cataclysmic Rush because it presupposes that, again, when you're talking about the physicality of a dragon, the fact that it can occupy the same space as a medium creature, because it isn't whole, like it's a big thing on fire that can like occupy that same space and kind of encase you in this like necrotic energy and like weird burning, like
suddenly you're
aura.
Just in between ribs.
Yes. That's the coolest thing to describe. Like, God, there's something so beautiful about describing, like, when you can describe damage as just not like you got hit or you got like bumped or bodied or struck, but that you are like inside this thing as it fights. So cool. Also, I'm obsessed with the idea of this cataclysmic fire as a thing that burns away not just like flesh, but like identity of something, because again, going back to that very cool line that the cataclysmic fire burns away like the identity of the dragon, and the dragon is like struggling to remain and like keep itself, that like lich adjacency.
Yes.
So I think for me, I would want to put a little stank on this by putting this fight in a town. I want to put it in a place that matters to people. And let me say off the top, this is necrotic damage. we both know you're going after the cleric and the paladin first. We don't mess with radiant damage here. So the dragon is smart enough to rush them first.
I agree with you. Like, set this in a like Dragonlance is also this world where the titular dragons were not, and suddenly they are, and now you have to deal with this new reality. And then adding on top of that, the Death Dragon is so dope to me. Want to take us out talking about which this is the feature which has made me want to talk to you about this, and that is cataclysmic breath. The dragon exhales a wave of ghostly purple flames in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in that area must take a DC 18 dexterity saving throw, taking 10 D8 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one, which sucks.
I love it.
For players, not for, additionally, here's where it gets fun, and here's where I'm very excited to be in this hamlet that you have set us up for. Additionally, any medium or smaller humanoid killed by the breath's damage, as well as every corpse of such a creature within the cone, becomes a zombie under the dragon's control. The zombie acts on the dragon's initiative, but immediately after the dragon's turn. Absent any other command, the zombies try to kill any non-undead creature it encounters. Take this.
That's so good. Please, we have to talk about if you are playing a dragon playing at the top of its intelligence, or if you're playing this weird thing of like sentient cataclysmic fire trying to make the worst possible choices on behalf of this dragon. Because I also want to point to the fact that like it is said that like its alignment is typically chaotic evil, but death dragons are also like, they're potentially like metallic dragons too that were also converted to this thing. So you can have a death dragon that's fighting its nature that doesn't want to do what it's about to do. You save the cataclysmic breath for when they're low on hit points, when they have things to defend, when cover has been stomped and trodden and burned away and there's nowhere left to run, and you're going to knock out that last set of hit points and start raising an army. And if you want to scare your party, you start doing it to civilians who have those like kitten stats of like half a hit point each, and start raising up a bunch of people around it. So now the dragon is just giving itself tons of reinforcements, and now you've just got like the wave function of like a Zerg rush of normal people that you have to cut through in order to even get close to the death dragon.
You probably know some of them.
Right? You know them. You were just defending them a second ago, and now they think of nothing but to cut you down too. Is incredible. Like, yeah, you can play the like scariest encounter with a dragon that knows tactics and will hold off on this breath until they can start bringing back zombies. Like, you don't really want to throw this out and say, like, for me, okay, pop culture reference, the White Walker, I think it was Hardhome episode of Game of Thrones, when we had the fight up north, and then the White Walkers show up and everyone that was dropped suddenly immediately gets raised up by the White Walker. Yeah. And you have that, like if you're shooting for cinematically that vertigo pan of like, you understand the scale of the thing you're fighting, and the fight seems and suddenly feels insurmountable in that moment. This is the mechanic that gives you that moment. And that's why I'm obsessed with it, and I love Death Dragons for this. Also, the fire is purple, and that's my favorite color, and everyone knows that about me.
It's my favorite color too.
Yay!
Hey, look at us. Look at us.
Look at us.
No, I love this, and I think like stuff like Hardhome is exactly it. And I think that's probably what I love most about this monster too, is that vibe that you're trying to insert into your game. That feeling, it's on the stat block, right? Like, you've got to have that moment where you think you're on the verge, like you've fought and you've clawed and you've lost so much, but here it is. This is finally the victory, and then this is the move that really takes that all away. there's a reason I picked this monster to preview. It's because this is the vibe for me for Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen.
It's so good. Yeah. I love it so much. I'm gonna start sprinkling this. Y'all are gonna see this guy pop up in like 4 months and be like, you get it.
My friend, thank you so much for hanging out. Obviously, everyone knows where to find you. You're everywhere, especially right here, my friend. But where are places people can you would like people to meet Aabria in the internet wild, or just something you want them to see or do, or I don't know.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media at Quiddie, Quiddie, where I will update with whatever projects I've got going on. But go check out Exandria Unlimited over on Critical Role's channel. I run games over at Dimension 20. Check out Battle for Beyond, which was such a delightful getting to play, and I don't always get to play, and that was a very fun. And I'm also on like New York by Night, where if you want to see me go be a vampire, and it's not D&D, but is cool and scary and as existential in that same fun way of like railing against things in the dark. So
you're on Failed Save, you're on Bane's Break, all really, really awesome shows for people to go check out. By the way, if you like Aabria and Critical Role, go check her out on Pixel Circus. They're doing really amazing stuff. My friend, thanks again for hanging out with us. And
thanks for having me.
For all of you, thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of this. Hope you got a little excited about Death Dragons. Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. It's up for pre-orders right now over at D&D Beyond. And man, I'm excited about this one. I work here, #WotC staff, so grain of salt me, but I'm a Crin boy from way back, and so I'm super excited for this one. I think y'all are gonna like it. Hey, thanks. We'll see you next time. I haven't ended a video in a long time. Bye. Go away.
Bye.